Of the Municipal Council for Tuesday, July 19th, 2016, to order. I would ask you to please stand and join in the two-part flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Again, just a reminder, for those in attendance, please turn off your phone or mute it. It doesn't interfere with our broadcast to other parts of the city. I want to welcome everybody back from a brief 3-week vacation. Hope you've all had a time to relax and recharge our batteries as we begin the first meeting of the new fiscal year. We're going to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of June 7th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of June 28th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. In a moment, I'm going to be making a motion to suspend the rules, and I just want to explain the reasons why I'm doing that. As you know, if we're going to be taking anything out of order, we have to suspend the rules, and there are two things tonight that I would like to do a little bit differently. First, as you all know, we do have the ARA here. They have a presentation that they will be making later this evening, but since that is not something that's on our regular docket, we have to suspend the rules for that purpose. And then secondly, normally when we have a joint public hearing scheduled, we do that first. There is one other public hearing, and that is for installation of a pole, and that amount of time for that public hearing will be a lot less than the rezoning. I would like to do that one first. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules for those two reasons.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. We'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio, please.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hull.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, no nays.
The motion passes. We're operating under suspended rules. At this time, I will ask our city clerk, Mr. Withers, to read the notice for the public hearing. Again, this is relative to that, to the poll.
Public hearing relative to the petition from Massachusetts Electric Company for N-Grid to extend 5 JO poles beyond existing P12 in a westerly direction on Commerce Way. Also included is a new guide/anchor support pole across from existing P12 Commerce Way. It also adopts the 4-2 duct conduit banks that were installed during road construction and are now specified on the original approved road plans. These facilities will be utilized to supply the new New England Sports Village.
Thank you. So in the public hearings, again, we'll ask those who are in favor to speak first, then those who are in opposition speak second, and then lastly, those who are neither for nor against, they come forward, and I'll call for those at the appropriate time. So at this time, is there anyone here to speak in favor relative to this item? Good evening, sir. Again, if we can have your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Michael Parent. I'm 245 South Main Street, Hopedale, Massachusetts. I'm a senior designer for National Grid.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. And what information do you have to present?
We are here to ask for this pole line extension to feed the sports complex. Requires us to install 5 new poles that are joint owned with us and Verizon, and also a guy stud pole across from the existing pole 12 to support this new pole line.
Are there any questions?
None.
Okay, very good. All right. Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Ms. Jackson, do you see any reason to continue this being open?
I do not, Mr. President. I
Okay.
think we should close the public hearing for
Thank
this
you.
evening.
Okay. So I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. And Ms. Jackson, could you explain to the gentleman what the procedure will be now in
Yes,
terms of,
I will.
you do it right here from your seat. You don't have to step out.
So we will be taking a vote on this. Are we having a meeting Thursday night?
Yes, on Thursday
Okay,
night.
Thursday, we'll take a vote on it, and then you'll be notified once the mayor approves our minutes.
Very good.
All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for coming
coming
in.
tonight
Thank you very
from
much.
Hopedale.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to go on to the joint public hearing with the planning board. Is the planning board ready to join us?
Yep. Sit there.
They are.
Yep.
Okay, there they go. Timing is everything in life. Good evening.
Evening.
Hey,
How are you?
how you doing, Paul?
Good evening. How's the Cape, Paul?
What are you doing?
Fishing's terrible, but
Fishing's terrible, really?
no beats, you know,
Yeah.
Hey, Lois, how you doing?
gardening or something else.
Bad day
Ugly.
for that, it's a good day at work.
Yeah. And you're walking nice and straight.
1, 2,
No
3,
pain.
4, 5.
Great. I'm so happy to hear that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for joining us, planning board members. Appreciate you coming out on a beautiful summer night. Mr. Weathers, will you please read the notice for this hearing, please?
Joint public hearing with planning board relative to the rezoning petition from the city of Attleboro's planning board to amend the following sections of the zoning ordinance. Section 17-2.1.3, establishment of industrial zoning districts, and section 17-3.4, table of use regulations, community facilities.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Good evening, Mr. Agent.
Good evening, Council President, members of the Municipal Council, Planning Board Chairman, and members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Gary Arazian. I'm the city's Director of Planning and Development, and I'm here tonight to present, first, to speak in favor of the proposed amendments, and then secondly, to present these to you. I've essentially broken my presentation down into 3 pieces. I'll try to be as brief as possible because I know you've got a long meeting tonight. The first, I just want to present the proposed amendments. I then want to put them in context to you. And the third element of my presentation is to offer the rationale for the proposed amendments. So first, it says to amend subsection 17-2.13, establishment of industrial zoning districts, by deleting section in its entirety and inserting in place thereof the paragraph. I will tell you, that paragraph is about 90% of what's already in the current zoning ordinance. But rather than cherry picking words here and there, deleting and inserting, I just thought it would be easier just to wipe out the paragraph and just put a new one. But as I said, about 90% of it is complete, is actually there now. And I broke it up into 2 pieces. A, enterprises engaged in manufacturing, processing, repairing, packaging, assembling, storing, merchandising of goods and commodities, and other similar uses that are deemed within the prescribed range of activities contained in herein. That is verbatim. The next piece, in order to accommodate the proposed amendments with respect to the land uses, when I spoke with the city solicitor, we had to amend this section to accommodate that. So I inserted and B, compatible non-residential enterprises engaged in the medical/healthcare sector of the economy. In order to, in my humble opinion, to adopt the section 2, you need to amend that first section to accommodate those land uses. And you know, I've spoken to the council and the planning board on that topic a number of times. So the substance or the essence of the amendment is under subsection 2, which is to amend subsection 3.4, table of use regulations, community facilities, by allowing, as a matter of right, the 5 land uses you see before you, which are 11B, professional medical dental office building, 12A, hospital and nursing home, 12B, healthcare facility, 12C, hospital-related services, and 13, which is veterinary hospital. I want to provide you with the context of this change because you kind of just see it's just specifically for medical uses. So the senior land use planner, Stephanie Davies, and I have been working on another wave of zoning amendments, which I think will probably make their way down to the planning board and the city council probably the end of summer this year, perhaps by the beginning of fall of this year. And those zoning amendments are to a section on signs, and we're working with the zoning board of appeals on sign. Yes, it goes back a while, Mr. Conti, but on signs. A section on landscaping, amendments to the Water Resource Protection District section, amendments to the parking regulations, amendments to the definition section, and also amendments to the table of use regulations. With respect to that, we're looking to introduce a wide range of new land uses, how to regulate them, and we're also rethinking many of the land uses we have right now and the appropriateness of where they are, meaning should they be allowed in certain zoning districts by special permit or not allowing them. And one of those areas of concentration we're looking on right now is the industrial zoning district. So while we are working on that, Mr. Mangiarotti, the city solicitor, spoke with me several weeks ago about a matter that he's been working with the redevelopment authority that involves the regulation of medical land uses in the industrial zoning district. And he's going to speak more specifically on that topic with the redevelopment authority, whereas I'm just trying to give you the picture at 50,000 feet. So in order to assist the city solicitor in his effort to work with the redevelopment authority on that matter, while Stephanie and I were working on these other components, I simply took this piece out that you have before you, this amendment, and we accelerated that to bring that before the honorable body of the municipal council and the planning board. So that's the context. And the last piece is, of course, the rationale. Why these uses to be permitted in the industrial zoning district? So to answer that question, I'm going to turn to a document that we had prepared back in October 27th. Actually, it was completed in October 2010. Those members of the municipal council that were here at the time, you have a copy of this. Those members of the planning board that were here at the time, you have a copy of this. And if not, I'll be more than happy to provide you either with a hard copy of this, or I could email it to everybody. And for the council, I could just forward it to Ken, excuse me, and he could disseminate it. So the rationale for this is the redevelopment authority, for the longest time, did yeoman's job in trying to attract business, and this I will tell you is for the industrial business park, with little success. And discussion after discussion with the redevelopment authority, with the mayor, with the planning board, is also understanding that that was at a time of the economy, the bad economy we're experiencing. But while there were bites and nibbles, nothing was really manifesting. So one of the suggestions I had, and we actually did it, was to get a grant, which we did from Mass Development, that would finance a market analysis of the industrial business park. That was prepared by RKG and Associates, and it was completed in October 2010. And the consultant concluded, among many other things, that the range of allowable land uses were narrow in the IBP, and many were by special permit. What we then did is examine those table of use regulations, and we have appeared before the city council several times to amend many of those land uses, one of which is the manifestation of the New England Sports Village. That would have never happened had we not amended the ordinance, which was predicated on this report, to change this. So in this report, as Stephanie and I are working again, when I talk to you about contextually, about concentrating on the industrial zoning district and what we could do to modify it, whether the IBP or the I refer to this to demonstrate to the city council that what we're presenting to you tonight, and to the planning board for that matter, has a basis in this report. I will share, will of course give you a copy of it, but there are 3 sections I just want to read to you, one of which is just verbatim. This is on page 5 of the report. Despite losses in manufacturing employment, the Attleboro economy continues to outperform the Massachusetts economy in this industry sector. This industry sector, again referring back to manufacturing employment. Other sectors where the Attleboro economy outperforms the state include healthcare and social services, as well as accommodations and food services. So here's one paragraph that says, we excel in healthcare, and that we should introduce this land use in the industrial zoning district. Again, that's on page 5. On page 7, page 12, table 7, talks about location quotients. I'm going to try to give you a very simple education on what a location quotient is. It's a calculation, let me back up. The economy, all local economies are broken up into 8 general sectors. If you recall back in your planning days, there's what's called an industrial classification. Each industry has a digit. Manufacturing, construction, wholesale and retail, agriculture, mining, government, fire, which is finance, insurance, and real estate. Each one of these 8 sectors is the economy. What a location quotient does is it compares any one of those sectors against the vitality of the overall economy. So if you want to know how your manufacturing sector is doing against your entire economy, what your retail base sector is doing against the entire economy, you calculate what's called a location quotient. If the number is close to 1, whatever you want to define close as, that sector is doing pretty much what the overall economy is doing. If it's less than 1, it's not performing as well. If it's greater than 1, that sector of the economy is outperforming the rest of the economy. And when you get the report, and if you like, I'll highlight it for you. Back in 2010, when RKG Associates concluded that there were 3 sectors of the economy, based on this location quotient analysis, that was in Attleboro outperforming the rest of the economy, both locally and at the state level. One, which was really surprising, but it just tells about the health of the economy, at least in Attleboro, is manufacturing. That was number 1. Geez, I'm getting old. Number 2 is healthcare and social assistance. And number 3 was accommodations and food services. Those 3 were well above 1. The other one that was closest to a 1, which I'm not going to count, is retail trade, which was 1.117. So according to Table 7, it talks about a healthy economy, which the health industry in the city of Attleboro outperforms the rest of the economy. The third element I want to talk to you about, and this is on page 25 of the report, it talks about subsection E, recommended target industry sectors, and it refers to Table 17. Of all those sectors of the economy I spoke to you about, the first that they said that we should target in Attleboro, which we knew anyhow, it's in there, and it was manufacturing, and we continue to be healthy, relatively speaking. The second one is healthcare and social assistance. Healthcare and social assistance again. So there are at least 3 areas of this report that point to a rationale for the city of Attleboro to promote the healthcare industry in this city. So what I'm submitting to the city council to expand its economic base is that the proposal before you is something that my staff was working on anyway to increase the real estate and the buildings uses in the industrial zone. And I submit to you that at least this report from RKG Associates that we had funded through a grant from Mass Development points to that conclusion as well. And that concludes my presentation, so if you
Are
want
there
to
any
put up
questions?
questions.
Council Prager.
Thank you, President Cook. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for coming in. Hello, planning board. Nice to see everyone. I just have, I think that this is great, and I look forward to all the work that you guys are doing coming forward. I think that'll be really helpful to our community. It's what we've all been looking for, and I'm excited about it. I do have just one question about this, though. The RKG report, it was from 2010?
Yes.
So that's 6 years old now?
Yes.
So would those numbers still be accurate at this time, you think? Or is it something that just because the economy has changed over the course of the last 6 years, so I just didn't know if...
And I think certainly we can all agree that it's gotten better. And I will also say, you're right, it is 6 years old. It's not that old. I think if you looked at the numbers and the years that they predicated their analysis on and then projected forward. It goes back to 2003 to 2009, Counselor, and they predicated that on trends that were already existing. So I would submit to you that we could certainly get this updated, but I can't tell you that right now because we'd have to get the funding to do it. But I would tell you, professionally speaking, that this report is not old enough to say, well, you could just throw it in the trash can, it's 6 years old. So, not to submit that you were suggesting that, but I would say yes, that I think we could still move forward with this report.
Okay, great. May I have a hard copy of that?
Yes, you may,
You
absolutely.
can throw it in my box. I'll
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll get that to you before the end of the week.
Take it.
Okay.
Thank you very
Any other
much.
questions for the speaker? From the planning board or from the council? Okay. Thank you for coming in. Sarah, is there anyone else to speak? Okay,
Sure. Okay.
okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert Mangiaretti, and I serve as the Attleboro City Solicitor. It's nice to see all of you. I want to just put into context the contract that motivated this proposal that's before you today. And it's important, I think, that the council always be aware of the various interactions between city departments and purposes that we're trying to serve and coordinate those purposes. I've reported to you before about the demolition of the Swank building, and I'm happy to report, of course, that the Swank building, which was owned by the ARA, has been demolished, and it was done by way of an insurance settlement and a grant, an insurance settlement on an environmental insurance claim, and a grant from Mass Development, and then a small portion was done by way of a loan. But in putting together the financing for that and an ultimate reuse for the Swank site, the deal that has been put into place is that once the building has been demolished, Stern Leach will take title to it and use it in connection with an expansion of their plant over in that area, which of course is good and serves the purposes of the redevelopment authority and the urban renewal plan. And in exchange for that, the Stern Leach Company will convey to the ARA 2 vacant lots of land on O'Neill Boulevard. One of them is just over 2 acres, and it's on the southerly side of the Marathon plant, and the other one is just over 1 acre on the northerly side of the Marathon plant, both on the right-hand side of O'Neill Boulevard as you're heading toward the hospital. And once we get those, the intention is for them to be sold to Sturdy Memorial Hospital. And we had an appraisal done, and a contract was made between the hospital and the redevelopment authority by which those 2 lots will be conveyed to Sturdy Memorial Hospital. And the net proceeds of that sale will be necessary for the ARA to pay off the loan that it is getting from Mass Development to complete the project. Originally, the project was about $1.5 million. We had a grant for $750,000 in rough numbers, and we had $800,000 in the insurance settlement. But with any type of demolition job, particularly one involving environmental remediation, there were several change orders, valid change orders, that have caused the ARA to go into the loan commitment from Mass Development. In order to repay that loan, we're going to use the proceeds of the sale of these lots to the Sturdy Memorial Hospital. And Sturdy Memorial Hospital is eager to invest in the area, although there's nothing by way of a firm commitment in my conversations with them. They're thinking about expanding office buildings and other facilities that would be complementary to the hospital. I've checked with the Chief Assessor, Stan Nasowitz, who confirmed my belief that although the hospital itself is tax exempt, when it builds property, builds buildings and improves property to be used by others and rented to doctors or labs or what have you, that land is taxable land. It's not tax exempt. So the hospital wants to use this to expand their campus, but they said as a part of the purchase and sale agreement that the zoning would have to be changed so as to allow that in the industrial district. That area out there is all industrial, and this proposal that Mr. Arazian with the planning board has proposed to you would allow for these contemplated uses complementary to the hospital to be used on those two large parking lots that are vacant now on O'Neill Boulevard. And Mr. Mnuchin, who is counsel for Sturdy Memorial Hospital, I think will probably briefly address you to say that, to confirm what I've told you. So this, while I wanted to make sure that you understood that this didn't happen in a vacuum. This happened in the context of all of the unraveling of the problems or resolving of the problems of the ARA and the contaminated Swank building and so forth. And I think, as I said, from time to time we report you on this. But I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to promote expansion of the hospital. It makes sense to understand that when our zoning ordinance was written many years ago, smokestack industries were much more common than they are now. So that if we're going to populate our industrial district, we have to be much more expansive in the uses. And I think that bearing in mind that an industrial district is not one where there are residences, so that the inclusion of hospital-related or medical-related facilities in the industrial district is not going to be offensive to any neighbors. It's going to generally be compatible with whatever's out there. So I think that it makes good sense from a business point of view to keep this deal together with Sturdy Memorial Hospital. I also respectfully suggest that for the reasons that Gary has said and the brief things I mentioned, that it's still a good idea from a zoning perspective. So we hope that you will adopt the changes proposed by the planning office, and then from there we'll go forward to, I hope, wrapping up this multi-part deal before the end of the year.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Council of the Planning Board? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council, members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is David Mnuchin, an attorney with offices on Pleasant Street in Attleboro, raised in Attleboro, so I do a fair amount of work in the land use and planning business. I'm here tonight on behalf of Sturdy Hospital. I've worked with both Gary and Attorney Mangiarotti extensively on this matter. Obviously, the hospital is in support of it. From the hospital's benefit, we are willing to enter into this purchase and sale agreement and consummate it based on the fact that if the zoning change happens, we know that we can expand our campus for medical-related facilities, as Gary and Bob have indicated. If the zoning did not occur, then we're in the position of basically gambling that we could take title to the property, but then we would have to approach this body separately to seek the same zoning changes. This allows us to know off the bat that when we get title to the property, we can use it for those uses as a matter of right. There's no discretionary grant permits that would have to issue. Now, usually when this happens, City Council wants to know what we're going to use it for, and as Bob said, we're not quite sure. It would be expansion of our campus and a variety of medical-related facilities. However, since, I can't remember, maybe 5 years now, the Planning Board has had a site plan review process in place. I think this is the safety valve that the council didn't have years ago when they just said, okay, we're going to make these uses as a matter of right, so that there is another mandatory layer of review that despite the use being allowed as a matter of right, we would have to go before a planning board for site plan review so that they can see that it's aesthetically harmonious, it's allowed, it's done, it meets all the other parameters. So they're, by implementing the suggested zoning change, it doesn't just allow this to happen without any city oversight. There's still plenty available that will happen. So I think that assurance is appropriately underlined to you in this presentation. From the simple practitioner standpoint that practices land use planning in this area for many years, I was raised here. I remember the old Wolfenden plant was right by my house at 5th Street. I woke up to the smokestack every day. I remember the lion roaring at the park, waking us up in the middle of a hot summer night like this. But the city has changed dramatically from its industrial base. We used to have the Balfours, the Swanks, the R.F. Simmons companies, and they all grew up at a time where they were here before zoning, and if you looked at the checkerboard square it left, the factory would be in the middle of residential settings, because back then, people had to walk to work, and the factories grew up. The largest house in the area was usually the factory owner, and then the people that worked there lived in proximity to the factory for a variety of reasons. Those times have changed. I've tried to get clients in industrial settings in Attleboro where we have land like in O'Neill Boulevard, like we had at Commerce Way. Sometimes it just didn't fit. It was too far away from a major highway. So this land isn't the typical industrial park setting. It is industrial in nature. I think it belongs to, these type of intensive uses, but I think Gary hit it right. The medical hospital-related facility use is something that is a growing part of our economy. The hospital has a strong commitment to the Attleboro area that you've seen over the years. This will make our campus more exciting for both the doctors and the staff that practice there, and to extend our services to expand them for the community. So I view this, and Sturdy views it as a win-win for everybody. But from your view as a city father's standpoint, rest assured that you do have safeguards in place under the existing zoning ordinance that says before we can build and are entitled to a building permit, we have to submit our plans to the planning board. So I think that's the check that you usually like to see. In years past, when someone came in and says, we want this land rezoned, or we want this use allowed, it would just happen, and you would want to see the plans and the proposed pro forma plans. But now we're at the point we have site plan review, so I think those fears could be reasonably allayed. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, are there any questions for the speaker, from the council or the planning board?
Thank you. Have a good summer.
You too. Thank you for coming in. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Hi, my name is Rick Carrier. I live at 85 Pembroke Avenue, and I'm also chairperson of the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority. As Mr. Mangiarotti explained to you earlier, it's incumbent upon us to close this deal out with a SWANK project, and in order to do that, we'd really like to transfer that land over to Sturdy Memorial Hospital. And we'd like to do it by the end of the year, and your vote this evening to support this zoning change would certainly help move this project along, certainly help satisfy the ARA and Mass Development, who has been our partner throughout this long duration of this very costly and tedious project. And we're very proud to have it down to the ground. We just need to put the remaining pieces together, and hopefully this body before us tonight is one of those pieces that can take a vote to help us do that. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Council Prather.
Thank you, President Cook. Thank you. I look forward to your presentation, and I do have a question that actually Attorney Mangiarotti had touched on. You don't have to answer it now if it's something you'll be covering in your presentation, but he did mention that as part of the Mass Development, I believe it's the Mass Development loan that we have, that you've accessed some of those funds. Did you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about that later? We can talk about it later if you want.
We're going to talk about that later.
Fantastic. I have the question ready, so you'll know.
We'll be all set to answer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the speaker from the planning board or council? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Are there any other individuals here who are here to speak in favor of the rezoning? Anyone else here to speak in favor of the rezoning? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the rezoning? Anyone to speak in opposition to the rezoning? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against the rezoning? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Council Holland also said anything. Do you see any need for this hearing to continue it open? Okay. Thank you. Okay. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'm going to declare this public hearing closed. This matter will now be back before both boards, and the council cannot make a decision on this until the planning board gives us a recommendation. So I do want to thank the planning board members for coming in. Are you continuing your meeting? Oh, you are. Okay. All right. So are we. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
How did swimming
So
go?
again, if there's anyone here who has business before the planning board this evening, their meeting will be continuing in the annex, which is to the left of the council chambers.
Well, that's Amelia for you.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to invite the members of the Redevelopment Authority to come forward. They have a presentation which they regularly appear before us to give us updates on various and sundry matters. I do want to welcome the ARA. I think everybody is positioned in such a way that you will be able to pick up the whiteboard here. So,
Thank you, President Cook.
welcome.
Thank you,
Good
members of
evening.
the City Council. Thank you, Mr. Conti, Capital Improvements Committee. Once again, I'm Rick Correa, Chairman of the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority, and I live at 85 Pembroke Avenue. Tonight is a presentation that we have been asked to give, and I think we were before you maybe 3-4 months ago. And we enjoyed that presentation back then, and we certainly hope you did, and we hope that we can do better than we did at that last one. We have a PowerPoint presentation this evening, and other people that are going to join us a little later on, I'm hoping that they show up. The first thing I'd like to say is that I'd like to introduce to you Governor Baker's appointment to the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority. As you know, we operated with 3 members for the longest time. We now have 4 of a 5-member board, and we'd like a 5th. But let me introduce Sue Blaze to come to the podium and tell you a little bit about her credentials and how well they will serve the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority. Sue?
Good evening. I am honored to be appointed by Governor Baker to represent the state's interests on the ARA board. My experience includes state-certified and FHA licensed real estate appraiser with over 24 years of appraisal experience. Besides real estate, I'm a longtime member of many Attleboro nonprofits, business groups, and veteran organizations. For years, I have followed the ups and downs of the ARA. In the past, I have advocated for many of the successful achievements of this busy board. In 2014, I was thrilled to learn of the sale of the industrial business park land and have enjoyed following the construction of the sports complex. Over the winter and spring, I often drove by the Swank factory demolition. And in the past few months, I have enjoyed seeing the vision of the Riverfront Drive and Judy Robbins Park project really start to take hold. It's also remarkable to note that what was once the location of the automatic machine products now developed into a new 6-story mixed-use apartment complex known as Renaissance Station North. Soon to follow across the street will be another mixed-use development, which is sure to enhance the new transit development zone. Attleboro is a great city, with many people working hard every day to make a positive difference. I am proud to be the newest member of the ARA and look forward to being part of the many interesting projects underway. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the speaker at this point? Well, if you could give a copy of that
Sure.
to our admin person, and this one, Ken Owens, so that we can make sure this becomes part of the record. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
I'd like to say thank you to Sue, and we're really thrilled that she's with us, and we look forward to her expertise in helping us move the projects of the city of Attleboro forward, along with the ARA projects as well. As you know, we are one and the same, more or less, whether it be a city project or a Attleboro Redevelopment Authority project or a joint project. We work in tandem, and we work in harmony to make sure that the projects that we do embark on truly do get done in a timely manner and with cooperation, communication, so there's no riff in the middle of our projects. We try to put the riffs in the closet and just move these projects forward. Now, having said that, I'd like to introduce Beth LeBlanc. She is the City of Attleboro's Capital Projects Administrator. And Beth has done a tremendous job of pulling together the many tasks that evolve during the day that the all-volunteer ARA board is unable to attend to. She coordinates city and ARA projects. Just about all of them, whether it being a city project or an ARA project or a joint project between the city and the ARA, need our attention in some way or another. She keeps the board informed. She creates agendas for our board meetings. She makes sure all our bills get put on warrant so we can vote and pay our vendors. She coordinates with all city departments the many tasks that needs to be accomplished to continue the growth in Attleboro that you have all noticed. Beth is a very busy person, and I want to thank her for coming out tonight to present this update on behalf of the ARA Board. So I'd like to introduce Beth LeBlanc to take over the PowerPoint presentation. We also have Doug Healy to answer any of your abatement questions that I'm sure will come up later on. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
As Rick mentioned, the ARA has been a very busy board, and specifically this year. If you'll note from the whiteboard here, we have a list of projects that we've undertaken, and most of them, I'm happy to report, are nearing completion. I'd like to address the first three with help from our LSP, our licensed site professional, Doug Healy of ES&M, and I'll ask him to come to the podium.
Again, could we have your name, just on the record,
Doug
please?
Healy?
Good evening. I'm Doug Healy. I'm with Environmental Strategies and Management. I'm a consultant to the ARA and to the city on a number of environmental matters in the city.
And where is your firm located?
We're in Norton,
In Norton,
just
okay.
down the road.
No problem. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. I'll start with just the Wall Street AMP South project, and I always get a kick out of going back and looking at some of these bird's eye views from Google Earth and some of these resources on the internet, and I think back and just I'm so amazed as to what it looked like not too long ago. It was really only 2010 that this is really what it looked like. And since then, the Automatic Machines North property has the old factory there, and it was the gas station before that, is gone. The old barn facility demolished. AMP South also demolished, and the DPW facility, just as of a few weeks ago, is gone. And so today, you all know what Renaissance North looks like. On the north side of Wall Street, there were some very challenging environmental issues there to deal with. We had chlorinated solvents, we had petroleum, and the redeveloper, in order to make this work, needed below-grade parking, and that meant we had to dig out a lot of soil, and it was impacted soil. So we had a big challenge to make sure that we could find a home for all that soil. And we did, and this is what we have. So on the left side of our screen here, that's the south side, which will soon look very similar, but we have also similar challenges on that property. So it may look like an open field right now, but we've recovered over 1,500 gallons of kerosene from the subsurface, and that's down 14 to 15 feet below the ground surface. So that's where the water table is, and that's where the kerosene accumulated, and we've pumped out quite a bit of kerosene. And all that work has been funded by our partners at Mass Development and EPA. So they've been very generous with us, and they've really been a terrific partners with us. We originally were going to be working with the redeveloper to finish our project. So in other words, on the south side, he was going to do the same type of excavation. He was going to cut out 12 feet of soil so we could have below ground parking, and that meant that we were going to be dealing with some of this kerosene impacted soil. So the original hope was that we could work together, that as he digs his soil out, we could finish our cleanup. But we were just a little bit out of sync with as far as the redevelopment goes, and our grant with Mass Development is going to expire at the end of this year. So what we came up with is Plan B. And Plan B is just we're going to get out there and get it done ourselves. And so starting in early August, you're going to see a lot of earth moving. In the sweet spot there where the kerosene is, we're going to be taking that 12 feet of soil out of the ground and piling it up, and then we're going to get down to that kerosene impacted soil and get the rest of that out of there so we can finish our project. And then when we convey the property to for redevelopment, it will be good to go. And they're going to be starting that in less than a year. So the timing wasn't quite right, but that's okay. We came up with a good plan to get this done, and so we can move this project forward. So I'm going to move on and just talk about Riverfront Drive. So we started last summer and last fall, with the construction of this. This is standing near Olive Street, looking north. This is a little bit outdated because things move so quickly. You can see on the left the old Richardson property. Well, that's gone now. But what we have here is the beginnings of a really very attractive road. So that happened in 2016. I'm going to show you some interesting pictures, but that half of the road went right through the middle of an old municipal landfill, and that was dating back to the 1950s and 60s. But, there was an awful lot of unstable soil and debris that had to be removed to make this road stable, and we also had an awful lot of groundwater to deal with. So we pumped out about 1.5 million gallons of groundwater during construction, and all that water had to be treated before we could discharge it to the river under a permit with EPA. And we wound up with about 8,000 or 9,000 cubic yards of soil, so that's a pretty big mountain of soil, all mixed with rocks and debris. And we did get some funding from MassWorks to start the process to manage that soil. So I'll show you some pictures of how we did that. So this is a picture of the beginning of the road construction, and you can see all the debris that we are running into, and you can see how shallow that groundwater is. So that excavation actually went down to 8 or 9 feet in most of the spots. So that's a lot of soil, and it was about 40 feet wide. So a lot of soil had to come out, a lot of groundwater had to come out for this construction. And what they put in its place is basically crushed stone with some certain fabric materials that would really solidify the road. But all that material had to come out and be stockpiled on the Reynolds and Markman property, which was right next door. So this is standing up on Olive Street, and this was just about a month ago. We took this picture, and so you can just get a good sense of with that. That's a big excavator there, and it looks pretty dwarfed on top of that mountain of soil. But you can see on the right all the debris and rocks mixed in, and on the left, the far left, you can see some of the soil that we were processing. So what we did was, as the first step, because we can't just take that soil and ship it off-site, we have to process it and get the rocks and debris out. So that excavator was picking up soil, scoop by scoop, running it through this screener, and then what you can see on the right is the processed soil. So that's the soil with all the rocks and trash removed, and on the left you can see a small pile just starting of the debris. So that took about 3 weeks to do all that, and this is really what we wound up with. On the right again is that processed soil. So that soil does have lead in it, so it is going to be taken to a lined landfill in the state. And the debris that you see in the middle there, that's rocks and trash. That's going to be further separated later this summer. So eventually, the soil will be gone to a landfill. The rocks will be reused however we want. It can be crushed, reused in a variety of ways. And then the trash is just going to go in a dumpster, be taken off-site. But a long process, but it was an awful lot of soil, and there's really no avoiding it. So. And this is what it looks like right now on the northern half. So the southern half is in pretty good shape. The northern half, now that the DPW buildings are gone, the road crews are out there right now putting in the drainage, and they're moving forward with that. And so that's what it looked like just a couple weeks ago. Those buildings are all gone. The fueling station was just decommissioned. That tank came out of the ground, and we supervised that. So finally, I want to just talk about the very southern end of our work area, the 101 to 105 Olive Street. So again, this kind of neat bird's eye view. It looks pretty awful from this view, but things are looking very different already. On the left, you see the Richardson property, and that was an old metal manufacturing facility. They did sheet metal. And on the right is the Reynolds and Markman, where they stored a number of chemicals, and they repackaged and resold products for the industries in town. As far as the Richardson property goes, the ARA acquired it in 2015 and went right to surveying those buildings. We did our due diligence and didn't really find any environmental issues below ground. Most of the issues on that property were within the buildings, the asbestos and that type of thing. So that was all taken care of last year. It was demolished just a few weeks ago, and you can see that it's already looking a whole lot better. And those soil piles you see there, that's from the road work, because that area needs to be filled in and brought up to grade a little bit. And then we're working towards that being a nice part of Robbins Park. So across the street, we have the Reynolds and Markman property. Again, the ARA acquired that property and conducted the building surveys so that we know what's in those buildings. That was demolished ahead of some of these other ones so that we'd have a good work area for the road. We did some site assessment work a couple years ago, and we found these 3 areas of concern, and we've called them areas 1, 2, and 3. Area 1 is a solvent release, and that's the area that's closest to Olive Street. And then areas 2 and 3 is a commercial landfill, and that's actually separate from the other landfill I told you about. So there's 2 landfills we're working with. We got some very generous cleanup grants from EPA, $200,000 for each area, and we're going to start the cleanup of Area 1 this fall. So the plan has been, as soon as we finish processing all that soil that was in our way, that's now out of the way. Now we can get to work on Area 1. So this is an interesting picture of this Area 1. This is the fire, the aftermath of the fire in 1989, and you can see these guys in the moon suits there because that building that burned down was filled with drums and all sorts of pretty hazardous materials. So during that fire, there was a release of some solvents, got into the ground, but thankfully we do have some grant money to address that contamination, and we'll be well on our way this fall. This is kind of an interesting site map from our site assessment, and it's the result of an electromagnetic survey, and it's basically a magnetometer that we run across the ground, and it detects buried metal. And you can see all the red there, that's buried metal. So what we did in this whole site, we did a grid program where we just ran this machine back and forth across there, and that's the outcome. So it's pretty clear that there's a lot of buried material, a lot of metals, and that's just the metal, so that doesn't tell you all of the other stuff that's in there. And so we did a number of test bits based on all those red spots, and this is what we see. There's some trash mixed in there, municipal type trash, cans and bottles, but a lot of this commercial off-spec paper. It was stuff from the local manufacturers in the area that buried some material there, and this was probably back in the 60s and 70s, so it's been there for quite a while, but it's fairly extensive. So we're really putting a lot of thought into what we want to do with that property, and that's really going to dictate what level of cleanup that we need to do for this. So I think I'm going to turn this back over to Beth now, unless there's any questions.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Council Conti, and then Council Praker. Council Conti, please.
I have 2 questions. The 1,500 gallons of kerosene that have been pumped out of the Wall Street South location, when you say 1,500 gallons of kerosene, is that 1,500 gallons of pure kerosene? Or is that 1,500 gallons of water that has kerosene in it?
It's pure kerosene.
Wow.
Yeah, probably 2/3 was actual pumped the kerosene out, and the rest of it was out in the vapor phase. So we use vacuum extraction to take the vapors out, but it comes out in both forms.
But that's a lot, and there's no way to estimate what's left there.
Not really. We know the area that still has some impacted soil. It's all going to be under a parking lot eventually, but there is still some saturated soil that has to come out.
So the second question was that you mentioned that you were going to accelerate the Wall Street project so that you could get the project done within the deadline from Mass Development. And I'm guessing that along with that acceleration comes a cost and a source identified and where the money's going to come from to accelerate the program.
Yes, the ARA is contributing a small portion of that from the Urban Renewal Bond. But most of it is from Mass Development.
So how much cost was brought to the program for accelerating it to meet the Mass Development deadline?
It added about $50,000.
Thank you.
Council Praker.
Actually, Councilor Conti asked my question, so thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions for the speaker at this point? Okay, thank you.
So as you can see, Doug's done an important service for the ARA in the city in helping us manage these projects. I'd like to continue now with Wall Street, our old former DPW. And as you saw in the earlier slide, this was what the facility looked like a few short weeks ago. There was a complex of roughly 11 buildings ranging from 48 to 96 years in age, and surprisingly enough, the site was built on the former dump. It seemed to be very popular in that area. We have demolished those buildings in conjunction with the city to make way for Riverfront Drive and Robbins Park, which are key components of our downtown revitalization plan. The ARA ownership allows for receipt of grant funding, which the city is not eligible for as a standalone unit. So it really is a concerted effort between these departments and agencies to bring these changes to the city. The ARA was awarded $200,000 for an EPA petroleum grant and $364,000 for mass development for cleaning up the former automatic machines product site. So it sounds like a lot of money, but as you've heard from some of Doug's extrapolations, a lot of these projects are very sizable and very expensive. We turn our attention to the new DPW, which had a tour actually earlier this morning with Congressman Kennedy. In order to bring that project to fruition, the ARA acquired the former APCO Mossberg property in 2006. Doug Healy's company, ES&M, was contracted to remove the debris piles which contain residual asbestos. The ARA was awarded $260,000 in a brownfield remediation grant, again from Mass Development, who's been an important partner in our projects, to restore the site and allow us to move forward with the construction of the new DPW facility. Showing here. It's a magnificent site. If you haven't been, I urge you to go and view. Our cornerstone project, and I like to call it that because it was just nearing completion when I came in, and it was one turn after another and lots of twists, is the Swank project. This truly was a multi-agency collaboration paving the way for progress. As you can see here, this was a sizable building, taking roughly 2 acres in space. It was a century-old building acquired by the ARA, originally planned for reuse as a manufacturing facility. Now, the original intent of this was to rehab the building and subdivide it as a whole unit to allow additional manufacturing agencies to come in and lease the space from the city. The ARA approved the urban renewal plan, which included this piece, the component of Cookson Precious Metals District. And then to follow that up, we engaged again environmental strategies to develop comprehensive response actions to any concerns that were present in the existing facility. A little bit later in the time schedule, the City of Attleboro approved the Downtown Urban Renewal Plan. So all of these components were very crucial to allowing us to move forward. Between 2008 and 2014, the site plan really changed for us. The ARA, again, had originally thought we were going to be able to redevelop this piece as a standing unit, sublet it out. However, the EPA and DEP strengthened indoor air quality regulations. What happened at that point is we had to take a step back and reassess the situation. Doug's company at ES&M, they did a thorough site evaluation, and we found that we could no longer rehabilitate or reuse the building. And again, that was due to the indoor air quality regulations that were strengthened. We brought in Axiom Partners to do a survey for asbestos, which was one of the main hazards of this building. And then as soon as we received their survey back, we did a search for funding. We had a brownfields remediation loan request put in with the assistance of the planning department here at the city. And projected costs at that point were estimated to be about $2+ million for fixing this problem. Jump forward to 2015 to now. Ramco, which was our low bid, begins the abatement and demolition, and that happened roughly in December. We had a policy that we stumbled across, which allowed us to seek an insurance settlement against the property owners for hazardous materials. That settlement was instrumental in letting this project go forward. As you heard earlier, we had a series of different funding sources, which I'll show you momentarily, but that insurance claim really kept the ball moving forward. The ARA was really challenged with escalating abatement and remediation costs. We found, strangely enough, a hidden wall that when we did the original assessment, we didn't know that there was a wall in the building until we had taken down an adjacent wall, and lo and behold, now you have more cost. So as Bob Mangiarotti, City Council, mentioned earlier for us, that we really did have a lot of challenges and a lot of change orders because of those unforeseen conditions. The ARA board did a lot of creative thinking with partnership with Doug and ES&M, our site professionals as well. We were able to actually use the existing building as fill. We brought in a crusher, we took the concrete and brick, and we reused it as fill to level the site, saving the city, the ARA, and the developer quite a bit of money. So the funding sources, which I alluded to earlier, were made of ARA operating funds, the City of Attleboro funds approved by this body, the insurance settlement proceeds, a mass development grant, and lastly, the mass development loan. Although we were anticipating this project to come around on $2 million, we're happy to report that we capped it just under that. Looking ahead, the zoning of the hospital medical area, which you heard earlier this evening, is very critical to the success of the land transfers to close out this project. We're expecting to receive a permanent solution statement in the fall of 2016. Our transition for land swap to Stern Leach, we're hoping to occur by December 1st. And then in concert with that land swap, we're looking to do our transfer to Stern Leach property as surety by May. Again, as Bob Mangiarotti alluded to earlier, the proceeds from the sale of the lots to Sturdy have already been pledged to mass development, and we anticipate that number to be about $245,000, which will offset our loan. Okay, now we're going to turn our attention to
Before you know, any questions?
Questions?
Councilor Bentley and then Councilor Conti. Bentley?
Thank you. I think lots of kudos are in order for Swank. It was a big, daunting project. I have a lot of notes. So first, it was dangerous, and it was like hazardous to not just the city, but Ward 5, and it's right in the middle of my ward. I live 2 blocks from there, and Sturdy Memorial's 1 block from there. So this is a serious project that we've been working on for years. I think I personally want to give thanks to Mr. Correa for all of his hard work, but all of the ARA board. I know Mr. Delisio was on the ARA. Ms. Blaze is going to, I'm sure, help complete this project. And former Mayor Robbins, who was chairman during the time, she did a lot of work. Bob Mangiarotti helped with the legal work. Doug Healy was instrumental, thank you. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Mr. Jacoby's daughter who found that insurance policy in a file.
If I can answer.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
I believe that she.
Want to come to the podium so they can hear you?
I believe that she might have stumbled across the paperwork, but it was actually Jim Walsh from Mass Development who brought this to our attention as we were starting to deal with the ramifications of the high finances of this project. Jim Walsh had reminded the ARA board that when the building was procured by the ARA many, many years ago, there was an insurance policy that was attached to it insisted by Mass Development. But I believe that Jack Jacoby's daughter probably did stumble across the paperwork in the office, but it was Jim Walsh from Mass Development who brought this to our attention in the middle of this project.
So thank you to Ms. Jacoby, Mr. Walsh, and the ARA who fought hard. I was there during those meetings when it was rejected. And then you fought to get it, and then it was rejected, and you fought to get it, and you got it. And that saved the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. But overall, I just want to thank you for outside the box thinking. You came in under budget, which is unheard of in government. Congratulations. And it looks great. I've never been so happy to see a blank plot of dirt in my entire life. And I have to say, it was a top-notch job. I know many of the neighbors there just because I live in such close proximity. They would go talk to the workers, and the workers would explain, well, we have cement here to be recycled, and we have brick here, which we can help lower the cost by because we can, resell brick for this money, and then we have wood here to be recycled. And it was really a top-notch job. And for me personally, as the Ward 5 chair, that's the project that had to be done for the safety of my residents and for the city. So to all of you in the audience and everyone who I mentioned, just kudos and thank you so much for all of your help. I know we're still working on getting it rezoned, but as far as I'm concerned, the hazard is gone. The danger of it's gone. I mean, had broken windows, kids could sneak in. God forbid if it caught on fire. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. You have my personal gratitude.
Thank you.
Councilor Connie.
Beth, I know this all happened before you arrived, but I'd like to track the business relationship between the city and Stern Leach regarding the insurance claim through to the present. So, the insurance claim was brought on by Mass Development through Michael Milanowski. I believe the mayor signed that at the time. But with the insurance policy was for how much money?
$800,000.
$800,000. And that $800,000 insurance claim, insurance policy, was to protect the city against anything that might have happened with Stern Leach and the responsible parties before them that occupied that building. That's correct?
I can't answer to that, sir. I'm not familiar with the insurance policy.
Okay. So, probably you can answer the questions that I have going forward, and I think I'll have to take them offline to Rich and the board separately, probably at your next meeting. I think I'll let it rest at that, Mr. President.
Yeah, that might be a good idea in a future meeting. I mean, the meetings are held on a regular basis and posted accordingly, so it might be helpful to get, Rick, would you like that information ahead of time that he's asking?
Yeah, it would give us, if you gave us a list of some of the questions on that insurance policy, we certainly would like to answer all of your questions accurately. So then we could research it and at our next update, give you all that.
I think I'll put it in writing for you, Rich. I'll send a composition to the ARA board, and you can collectively come up with the historical perspective and send it back to all of us.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Beth at this point? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So moving on then, we have the transit-oriented development next. So as this body is very much aware, purpose and intent was recently crafted, adopted, and put in place for this important transition. I'm not going to read this verbatim. I know you're very much aware. Basically what this is allowing is bringing the village home. The concept of urban village began in 1999 with a federal grant for an MBTA parking garage. Smart growth approach by the city and other agencies of the city give us the approach to get you where you need to be, all within walking distance. That's the intent of this development area. There's 26 areas bounded by the MBTA commuter railroad on the east, the 10-mile river on the west, Wall Street on the north, and Olive on the south. And as you've heard from our various presentations this evening, all of that is being examined, developed, thought processes going in, agencies across the board, MBTA, GATRA, the city, Brownsfield, etc., are being consulted as to how this should be developed. We intend for mixed-use sites throughout the parcel to allow for many configurations of residential and business. Any questions on the TOD?
Any questions? Okay,
And that concludes my portion of the presentation.
okay,
Rick,
thank you.
I'd like, if you don't mind.
Thank you. You can leave that there.
Good job.
Very.
Very good job.
Yep.
Well done. Very nice job. Thank you.
I would just like to say a couple of things that are very important to me. As you know, the ARA board, when you hear me speak most of the time, I like to reiterate the fact that we don't have a lot of money, if any. But we do a lot, all right? And we're happy that we have your support to do that, because financially, we really don't have a lot. But in saying that, what I would like you to understand is that you saw the enormous amount of the grants that we are able to get to be able to do these projects and fund these projects. We do them in tandem with everyone else working with us. About 10 or 12 years ago, the ARA board had 4 employees to the tune of about $352,000 a year. So I just want to put this in the context to you so that you understand that we may owe some money here and there, but we have taken every penny of every grant dollar that we have received and put them into the projects as volunteer board members. We have saved you over $3.5 million over the last 10 years. It's important for me to say that, and many of you are nodding your heads, and I think you know why I'm saying it. So, having said that, we're very proud of what we do. We work very hard to do it, and we do it all as volunteer people. I have a special guest. Oh, I'd like to mention 2 people that weren't mentioned tonight that are very important to the ARA board, is Jackie Romanecki, our treasurer, who is not here, and Benton Keene III, who was our vice chair. They contribute enormous amounts of their time to us as well. So now I have a special treat for you and a special guest, a dear friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine that I had met years ago, and you helped me meet him by rezoning the industrial business park to allow a sports complex. I'd like to introduce to you David Boucher, who's one of the founding principals of 5 Capital Management, who was instrumental in the development of the New England Sports Village. David, would you come up? And you can help Beth.
Yeah, I'll get that up and running.
You have his name, right? You have his name, right?
I got his name.
You got-
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Just wanna make sure.
Great. Hello, everyone. Hello, Council. Thank you very much for giving me some time to speak. Rick, thank you so much. I want to take a moment to, just share with you probably a low point in my life. It was when we were really on my side of the project in just a very difficult space and time in putting this together. So this was just prior to purchasing the land. And we had a very, very wealthy individual who was backing the project. He got sick and had to step aside. And at that point, I had everything into this. I had quit my job, my career, and I was fully into it. And I said, Rick, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And Rick met me at Weather Lanes, and he said, David, we're going to figure it out. We didn't know what that meant at the time, but he said, we're just going to figure it out. And within a couple months, all of a sudden, we bought the land, and we were off to the races. So, Rick, thank you for helping me get through that really difficult time. What I'd like to do is just quickly go through a time lapse. I'm going to show you the site. This was day 1 of the equipment showing up, and I'm just going to quickly rapid fire through to this morning. I updated this through this morning. I'll give you an update on the plans globally, and then certainly if you have any questions. So hopefully I know the technology here. Let's see. Okay, fabulous. I love it when technology works. So when we first started, October 25th, that was the first day that things showed up and we got going. August 25th. And we quickly started to cut down trees. We've cut down a path for the first phase of our development, which is about 26 acres. We recently cut the area where we'll be putting the hotel. So we have close to 30 acres of land that has all been stripped, 25 acres of land that has all now been prepped and ready to go, built the infrastructure out. Thankfully did our blasting and to the extent that this area is now done, we've finished blasting this area. So quickly November, we were starting to prep the site. December was our blasting time, so we got through that. March, it was time for the building to start taking shape and pouring some foundational footings. April, you start to see roughly a 20-foot high wall being developed on the east side of the building. Then April 30th, we had basically built the forms for all of the foundational walls. On May 9th, the steel started to ship and show up. So we started finishing the area of the foundational walls, and then on June 1st, our first beam started to go up. So it's only been 6 weeks, roughly. that we've been building the building. And if you've been by in the past few days, if not week or so, it's getting there. It's really moving along. We had a professional photographer come by, take a few kind of cool shots. The building, I think it's important to note, is a very different type of building, not built in the United States very much. There's only a few buildings. But what's important to note is, as the building's being developed, it's structurally sound. So there is no, unfortunately, there was a really bad collapse at Bryant University about a year ago. That was a very different type of building. You build the skeleton, and then you build the skin around it, and then it becomes structurally sound. This is a building that, once the building module is put into place, the module is 9 feet long, that is now structurally sound. So we now have multiple teams under the building. If you look and see, the elevator shaft is completed. We have the elevator company coming in 2 weeks to start installing the elevator itself. So we have many different armies, if you will, in there. Progress on June 22nd. Progress on June 30th. Wow, it's starting to take shape. Then the bump out in the back, if you drive by, is our mechanical room. So all of the equipment for making the ice is going to be held right there. On the 15th of July, just last Friday, they had all the forms ready to pour the concrete slab for the main concourse area. And then as of this morning, doesn't show very well, but yeah, nice, a little button. We have concrete slab already poured, so it's already hard. I was walking on it this morning. So very exciting. We have one third of the building, of the core building, left to finish. So if you look at this picture, elevator shaft, as I was referencing, this roof line or ceiling line right here is at the blue line of the far side right now. So we're past center ice on both rigs. Past center ice. So our expectation is within 2 weeks, the building system will be to the back wall. We'll be completing the Zamboni areas and some of the other mechanical areas. Teams are coming in, and we are on track for October 1st, one sheet of ice be up and running, and then within a week to 10 days after that, the second sheet, and then the final half sheet, which, let's see, actually this is it. So this picture, it's a little dark, but if you go straight and look straight down, we'll have a half sheet of ice, and that's for really the youngsters. If you think about a major league diamond, for the big boys and girls, and the little league diamond is for the little tykes. We'll have a small sheet of ice that does that same type of perspective. So the expectation is to have the front of the building all closed up by mid-August. We have the ice manufacturing company coming in at the beginning of August, so you'll start to see all the piping going in and the equipment going in. It takes him 8 weeks from the day he shows up to the day we're skating. So things are moving very quickly. The site work in the front of the building, as I mentioned, the blasting has already taken place, so now it's a matter of just clawing it out and pushing it over. If we're looking at this picture up here, or actually better here, so the big wall on the side, we're going to be pushing the dirt that way so that we have a level parking lot from if you're looking at the back of the building from right to left. We have started to move forward the aquatics as well. We're going down to New Jersey on Tuesday to look at a facility that Bluefish Swimming Club just feels has great air quality, and the pool just has a great experience. So we're heading down there on Tuesday to see what it's like, what the equipment is, why is it functioning that way, because so many pools that we all go into, it's tough to breathe. Mm-hmm. That's not the experience that we want to have at the Sports Village. So we're going to make sure that we know what type of equipment creates that experience, and then the 50-meter pool be similar to that. And the expectation is by spring of next year that the aquatics building will be up and running. My partner, who unfortunately couldn't be here, Joe Fitzpatrick, he's in India. He is meeting with numerous different groups, but one of the reasons why he's meeting is just talking about different ideas for the hotel. We have gotten approval from a major brand, so we can have a major brand, about 108 rooms to start. And the expectation is that that will start in the fall. And then if we can build it within about a 12-month time frame, next fall, we would have the rink, we would have the pool, and we'd have the hotel up and running. So I have just a couple other things that I think are important to share. So it's funny. We have a lot of pictures that we try and keep and memorialize the process. Sometimes, the process is so nerve-wracking and frustrating, and many adjectives you kind of forget. And so I do remember the picture here when we first announced that we were going to do this. And that was in our minds what the building ultimately could take shape. But now we've really got what the building is going to look like. I think it's important to note our logo is going to be the Attleboro Blue, New England Sports Village. And so at night, when Attleboro's playing, we'll be illuminating the night in Attleboro Blue, and you'll walk in. This is what the concourse is going to look like when you walk into the facility. If you look left, there's going to be, right here is 2 sets of windows. We'll have chairs right here, and that's where the little rink is going to be. So you'll be able to sit there, have your cup of coffee, put it on this little window area, and watch from about 14 feet above, looking down. We're also going to have the goalie coach for the Pittsburgh Penguins has a goalie school, and he'll be bringing his goalie school to the New England Sports Village. So his little area will be down here as well, in a small little ice surface. Pro shop right here. There's a hallway. Actually, I'll show you in another picture of the hallway. This is the studio pad, the small sheet of ice. So we'll be looking down. That's the view we want to look at. We are going to try and put some really cool pictures up here. Probably not these exact ones, but we want to put up some inspirational pictures.
Keith the Rockwell.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's awesome. I mean, honestly, I have a picture like this with my son, 4.5 years ago. The pro shop, this hallway will go to the cafe restaurant area, also administrative offices and a conference room. So certainly, if you wanted to have a meeting at the Sports Village, we'll have a conference room that can seat up to, I think it's 25 people. This is the spine of the hockey rinks. So you'll look down one rink this way, one rink that way. This is roughly what it's going to look like. So we're going to have a center scoreboard on the premier sheet of ice. Looking down, this is the restaurant that's going to be looking down at the ice. The conference room is right there. That's the view from mid-ice. So the way that we're going to do the stands is we're going to have basically red, white, and blue across there, making sure, and we'll have some green in the area as well. Make sure we accommodate all the local high schools. Looking from the restaurant down to the ice surface and to the seating area. Far is for kind of a private area. So again, Attleboro's playing. There'll be an area. If Attleboro's the home team, then Attleboro town officials have their private box area. Or that's the Rick Correa box right there. Love it. And then the locker room. So we have a few different programs coming in. There's a new program that's being created for youth, and we're going to call it the 95 Giants. And then one other. So just quickly, the schematic of the blueprint here. We'll have a strength and conditioning area in this part of the building. We'll have a hockey skills center in this part of the building. This is where the restaurant cafe will go. We have some storage. conference room located right here, pro shop, offices, restroom facilities, family entertainment center, rink office, main vestibule coming in, yogurt beach located right there, Dunkin' Donuts located right there, and then the main seating area through the spine, and then this is the private box area right here, and then our Zamboni area.
Very good. Are there any, thank you for the presentation. It's so good to be able to see someone that's coming together. I remember the day that we were first introduced to you here in these chambers, when it was all, this is what we hope to have someday, so it's really encouraging to drive by and see this being developed. And then for the, the update that you gave us tonight, this is so very encouraging, after so many years of talking about, what can we do to get the city, economically revitalized, and this is a major part of it, so thank you for all your work.
Absolutely.
I know Councilor Parika has questions, and who else? Councilor Jackson, Councilor Conti, Councilor Delissio, so I'll start with Councilor Parika.
Thank you for coming in tonight. This is really exciting. Rick, thanks for asking him. First, I just wanted to say thank you for keeping us updated on Facebook, so if anyone here or at home wants to follow the goings-on of the New England Sports
Yes,
Village,
please.
make
Yes.
sure you like that page and go there all the time. I drive by it. I go onto the page all the time, and I stay pretty up to date. Are you really sure you're okay with the Attleboro blue?
Well, Attleboro, I even though I am from the other town, no, I love it.
No, I think that's terrific. And I just wanted you to know, and I'm sure you already know this, but it's fascinating to me. So I tend to be slightly myopic and think only of Attleboro all the time. And my family is actually from outside of Attleboro, and I come from a huge hockey family.
All right.
Everyone but my kids play hockey. My kids, I can't get them on skates. They're too big. And I was telling my sister about this project like a year ago, and she's like, whatever. She calls me up like 6 months ago. Oh my Heather, all anyone is talking about in the entire hockey community is this.
Right.
They cannot wait for this to open, and it's going to be a smash and fantastic. And I get to sit back and gloat because it's in my city.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilor Jackson.
Hi, David.
Hello.
We first met, I was on the planning board at the time when you first came before us and presented this plan. Yep. And I too, hockey, family, and my youngest son, big player. He's an adult now, but he lives out in San Diego. He just happened to come home this weekend.
Ah, cool.
And he plays in 3 adult leagues right now.
Cool.
And he said, where is this place going in? So we drove by to look at it. He goes, I don't think that's going to open by October. And I can't wait to go home tonight
Absolutely.
and tell him. Because
Absolutely.
it is exciting.
Absolutely.
You're going to do very well.
Thank you. We're excited.
It's going to be terrific.
Thank you, Councilor Conti, and then Councilor Delissio.
David, thank you for coming tonight, and the update's very much appreciated. I have 4 questions. Question 1 is that through the April-May time period when you were breaking ground, what was that ground like? Was it pudding stone? Was it ledge? What did you experience?
There were pockets that were that were more challenging than others. So, a little bit of the challenge was it was layered. Rather than layered this way, it was kind of layered this way. So we broke through different types of rock as we went through different elevations. So in the blasting process, the blaster had to get used to kind of making some of those guesses. So in that process, the majority of it was pudding stone. So it was amalgamation of rock, really hardly compressed together. And then when it would break up into some pretty usable, decent size stone rocks. So what we've been able to do, and this was a conversation that we had with Gary and with Tara, is instead of doing just a poured cast concrete retaining wall, which was approved and was fine, we asked them if we could do more of a natural rock facing. It just looks so much nicer. And it was because the rock, when we blasted it, again, we spent a large number on blasting rock, so it was difficult, but what came out of it was an opportunity to kind of use that to beautify the village feel. There was a lot of blasting.
The second question was that phase 1 is hockey, phase 2 is aquatics.
Yes.
Phase 3 is hotel.
Right.
phase 4 is field
Phase
house?
4 would be the field house, yes.
And then fields.
Fields. Yeah, we're going to try and do the fields and the field house together. We're going to try and minimize any disruption in that area for as long as possible, and then we're ready to do that. And ready to do that, has to do with many different things, programs, financing, and everything. So we're going to try and hold off, and then when we're ready, then that will be all together.
But your early geologic studies indicate that what you experienced in the bedrock and the pudding stone for the phase 1 development will be there to meet you in phase 2, 3, and 4.
The expectation is actually we got through the difficult part. Where we went, we knew that was going to be the most difficult. The field house is going to be, exponentially less. So it'll be, and that's partly due to the way that our engineer designed the building itself. So if we were leveling that whole area and engineering the 2 buildings that we're doing right now, the rink and the aquatics together, if we did that over on that side, then it would be much more blasting. But the field house, we're going to try and sit it on it as much as possible, and where there are pockets that come up, eliminate those pockets.
And finally, about a year and a half ago, we had a financial meeting with you and your partner, and I have a good recollection of the conclusions of that meeting. Is everything still on track with that meeting?
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Lucio, and then Mr. Cooper.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David, great to see you as always. I go back to the beginning stages of this. Remember the neighborhood meetings we had at the library, and a lot of the promises that were made that, we're going to be good neighbors, we're going to take care of this. And I just want to say, as your neighbor, I want to thank you. I know people in my condo complex that I've spoken to, some of the other residents on the other side that I've spoken to, they've just been very impressed with the way it's been handled. Personally, as a resident on Commerce Way, is very minimal disruption.
Thank you.
Even during the blasting. So I just want to say thank you, and I know that there was some concerns about some of the parking on the street.
Absolutely.
Which the way that was handled was fantastic as
Good.
well. So
And that, we are trying, so all the permanent workers who come, we made a lot for them. And then some of the transient meeting type, we tried and kind of like guide traffic, but thank you.
no, it's been great. It's really been minimal disruption to the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Council Cooper, then Council Parika.
Thank you. Dave, my dad had the opportunity to run into your chief financial officer, chief executive officer, president of your organization, also known as your wife.
Ah, nice. She is.
So they had a great conversation about New England Sports Village, and I would like, they talked a lot about ice time and the need in the area, and I'd like for you to just give a Reader's Digest version of what their conversation was about, who you see in there, the availability that you predict or not.
Absolutely.
And, give a little background on how you prioritized, the list that you came up with to kind of do the build out.
Excellent. So, I think going into this, I always harken back to Mr. McNeely. So Mr. McNeely for me was learning how to skate pushing a milk crate. And I still have a visual in my head. And the only reason why that could work is because every Saturday at 8 o'clock, it was a time that my parents felt it wasn't too early, they could get me to the rink, and it was consistent. So that was always, part of the philosophy of building the whole village. So not just the rink, but the whole sports village. So what we've done is having the 3 sheets of ice. We have 1 sheet of ice that is going to be for club hockey. These are the top 20% kids, 7 years old to 17 years old. And it's for the kids who really just have an ability that you can identify right away. So 1 sheet of ice is for the club program. The other sheet of ice is for youth hockey. So the Devils program is Attleboro, North Attleboro. It's Foxborough and Mansfield, and it's a group of different Hockomock communities. They're the primary driver of that second sheet, so that's youth focus. And then KP Walpole is another youth program. So they'd make up that second full sheet. And then we're keeping primarily the half sheet. So what we're going to try and do is I'm going to be Mr. McNeely. So my team and myself on the weekends, consistent hours on the weekends, for learning how to skate, learning how to play. We're partnering with the Providence Pawtucket Figure Skating Club. They're going to help teach skating. So you're not going to have, skating with a hockey stick. You're going to learn how to skate first, and then you're going to learn how to play, and maybe or go towards the figure skating track. So it is very important to us that we build the base of sports, not just hockey, but all sports, and making sure that there's access for everyone. We did permit a third sheet, so we do have a third sheet that is designed right here. So someday the concourse will come right here, and then the ice will be lowered right there. I can tell you we have enough demand right now in the communities to have that basically booked. But we're going to build it. We're going to do this building. We're going to do it right. We're going to let things settle a little bit, and then we'll start to go for that third sheet.
Great, thank you. So your message was consistent with your CFO, CEO,
Absolutely.
and president.
Better be.
That you that you're accountable to. So,
Yes.
Thank you for that. I just think that that's important for the public to hear that. Obviously, my dad was excited about it and couldn't wait to call me to tell me all about it. But I appreciate all of your efforts and really being neighborly. I think has been very important because this is in Ward 2, and
Absolutely.
I haven't had anybody call me about
Thank you.
being upset about things going on there. So thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? Could you elaborate a little bit about what the response has been to area communities and others?
Yeah, so
about this?
I'm going to start globally first and then go locally. So I've gotten a call from the Economic Development Director of the City of Dallas saying, I saw this project in Attleboro and we're thinking about doing something similar. Can you have a conversation with me? So I said, I'll give you the Cliff Notes now, but let's wait until the fall and then we can chat. I've gotten a phone call from Fort Lauderdale, and there's a group down in Fort Lauderdale looking to do a smaller complex. But again, they're saying the project in Attleboro. Group from Raleigh, North Carolina, a group from just outside of Chicago, and a group in just outside of Baltimore. So around the country, people are taking notice of Attleboro and this project. Another anecdote, I grew up on the north side of Boston, and so friends of mine now live on the Amesbury line, the New Hampshire border. And Tara called me up and she said, David, my son's I know we haven't talked in 20 years, but your mother gave me your number. And she said, my kids swim for the Crimson Club. And the Crimson Club is the arch rival of the Bluefish Swim Club. And all everyone we're talking about is the New England Sports Village in the stands today. And then I heard someone say David Boucher, and I said, wait a minute, is that David Boucher? And so she called me. So she said, from New England and really, did I say San Francisco as well? So I got a phone call from San Francisco to across the country. This is starting to get notice. Regionally, without a doubt, certainly within the hockey community, our boards manufacturers from Minnesota, and they came to visit last week, and they said, I got to tell you, I don't know what your PR group is doing, but all I'm hearing about is the New England Sports Village and the hockey rink. Kudos to you. But there are 2 other major hockey rinks going up in Massachusetts right now, and you don't hear about them. And that's fine. I'm not looking for the press, but I think the reason why is because we saw something special. We saw something special and saw an amazing opportunity, and it's starting to come to fruition. So it's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this. We're looking forward to the opening game.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. Again, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Rick, anything else to add?
This is what you call right here, out of the box thinking.
Absolutely.
No, it was this.
All right, I would just like to say in closing, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I hope it's better than the last one we gave. I don't know whether we can duplicate this in 4 months, but we'll certainly try. I would like to say that with the New England Sports Village, when this first happened, we believed in each other. The ARA board supported the negotiations and the sale of this project immensely. And I was glad that they were totally behind my and David's efforts all the way through this, because there were many, many a time over a glass of wine, a glass of beer, or some kettle chips at Weather Lanes that we both had our heads down and we looked at each other and say, how the hell are we gonna get this done? And we believed in each other. We did a whole ton of out-of-the-box thinking. Some of the things that we came up with were not normal. But you know what? They spiked something that did work. So, thank you, David, to a wonderful project that you've brought to Attleboro. Thank you, Beth, for your presentation tonight. Doug, Susan, thank you for being a member of the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority. And thank you for listening to our lengthy presentation. I certainly hope you enjoyed it.
And Rick, actually, one more thing I wanted to mention too. When we purchased the property, Bristol County Savings Bank still kept a loan. I think it's important to note.
I was going to go into that, but I didn't dare.
Yep. And as of today, Bristol County Savings Bank no longer has a loan outstanding. So
That was part of the out-of-the-box thinking, where David's head went down on the table at Weather Lanes, and I said, I got an idea. And he said, what's that? I says, how about if the ARA flips the loan at the Bristol County Savings Bank? His head came up and he says, are you kidding me? He says, that's brilliant. Well, I brought it to Judy Robbins that very night. Within that hour, she looked at me and she told me I was crazy. She called Bob Mangiarotti the next morning, and Bob says, it's a brilliant idea. Within 2 days, we were at the bank, and the bank said, we're going to entertain it. And within 2 months or so, they looked at it and said, we got to go on it. That was part of the out-of-the-box thinking that we were doing to make this project happen. Other than that, this project wasn't going to get off the ground unless we could find a way to get it started. And that was one of the things. I'm glad you mentioned that. I was afraid to mention that.
they no longer have that loan outstanding, so that's very exciting.
Good.
So,
I just want to thank you and all the members of the board, those of you who are here, thank you for coming in, and those who couldn't be here for, for all of your work. And on a personal note, as one who, going back to my days on the planning board and then on the council, on a lot of these plans, before we got to this great project, in terms of there was a lot of doubt, there were a lot of questions. Peter remembers there were a lot of slings and arrows, being thrown about. But hanging in there and now seeing through all of the problems, the near bankruptcy that was going on at one point, the various problems and so forth. It's kind of a testament to people who had a vision, who continue to, work, trying to find a solution, out of the box thinking, creative thoughts, and then working together with others, to finally be able to reinvent, Attleboro's future. In so many different ways, not only with this project, but the other ones we saw this evening. And it's only when you take a moment and step back and think about it, in terms of how much time has gone by and how these plans became reality, they can really, I think, really appreciate, what has happened and what we will be seeing happening in the coming months and years here. So I just wanted to thank you.
I think the years that I've served on the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority, of course, with Judy Robbins being at the helm for the longest time, we surely do miss her to this day. We think of her every day. She was very inspirational to all of us. But we have a group of volunteer board members, and now with Beth with us and Doug Healy and all the people that we do business with. I'm going to tell you something. We're a think tank. Throw anything at us and just put us in a room. We'll come up with something. We'll make it work. And that's what we like to do. It's a challenge for us, and every one of us is up to the challenge every day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So thank you for coming in. Appreciate it very much. We're looking for the next update. Again, Ms. Boucher, if there's anything that we can do to help you, or if you need to come in and talk to us at any time, the door is always open. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. I'm going to entertain a motion for a 10-minute recess.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll recess at 8:43. 5 o'clock. Council meeting back to order at 8:53. We're going to proceed with the mayor's communication, please.
Tablecloth.
No, it's way nicer.
July 19th, 2016, dear municipal councilors. I respectfully submit a communication from Chief of Police Kyle P. Hegney regarding the fiscal year 2017 911 training grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, or EOPSS, in the amount of approximately $19,953. Please note that there is no matching requirement in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro. I hereby request your honorable body to approve expending of such funds as any future grant amendments. Monies from this grant must be expended no later than June 30th, 2017. Copies in your packets.
Public Safety and Emergency Management Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Veteran Services Ken Batcheter regarding the following donations. Gift certificates from the Board of Directors of the Attleboro Farmers Market totaling $100 in value for use at the Attleboro Farmers Market. Gift certificates from the BPO Elks Lodge 1014 of Attleboro totaling $500 in value for use at Stop and Shop Supermarket. Gift certificates from the Disabled American Veterans Post 91 of Attleboro totaling $300 in value for use at Stop and Shop Supermarket. Gift certificates from the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 115 of Attleboro totaling $300 in value for use at Stop and Shop Supermarket. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body we have received the resignation of Jay Hewitt from the Planning Board. I know you will join me in thanking Mr. Hewitt for his service to the city. Copies in your packets. I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Schools Kenneth Sheehan regarding the donation of 5 Chromebooks with an estimated value of $180 per device from Mark and Lewis Cooper on behalf of their son Cameron for classroom use at Studley Elementary School. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication, I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the following reappointments to positions and for terms as indicated. Barry Lacasse, Director of Budget and Administration, February 2017. Scott LaChance, Director of Emergency Management, term expires February 2017. Paul Palermo, Inspector of Wiring, February 2017. Dennis Walsh, Recreation Director, February 2017. Paul Kennedy, Superintendent of Wastewater, February 2017. And Jean Benchamill, Zoo Director Curator, February 2017.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Health Department Outreach Worker / Case Manager June Fleischman regarding the donation of $475 in Stop and Shop food gift cards from the Holiday Spirit Committee. These cards will be offered by the Health Department's public nurse and outreach worker to individuals and families in need. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous gifts to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from City Treasurer Laura Gignac regarding the donation of 2 customer chairs with an approximate value of $100, 4 desk chairs with an approximate value of $400, and 1 desk with an approximate value of $700 from Rockland Trust. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous gifts to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Council on Aging Director Madeline McNeely regarding the donation of a leather living room set with a value of $4,200 from Nick, Ron, and Pete Cardy. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous gifts to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
As you are aware, there were reductions made in the fiscal year 2017 general government budget that unfortunately have caused unintended consequences that need to be addressed. Specifically, the Municipal Council voted to reduce the citywide overtime account by $1,500, the citywide cell/pager account by $22,000, and the citywide professional services account by $50,483.22. For the following reasons, I am hereby requesting that your honorable body reappropriate these funds. The reduction of citywide overtime from $1,500 to $0 causes issues with City Hall custodial coverage during vacation/sick time annually, as well as overtime associated with electrical issues. This issue currently becomes more problematic as our custodian is scheduled for vacation the first week of August with no overtime coverage available. We are responsible contractually to pay employees for coverage outside of normal working hours, and this coverage is needed to maintain the building operations, including the proper cleaning of restrooms for the staff and others. Further, there are multiple times a year that we pay for overtime for electrical repairs. Without this funding available, we will have to contract for outside companies to perform this work when needed and to pay prevailing wage, and thus being much more costly. The elimination of citywide cell service by the reduction of $22,000 will cause me to cancel service by August 1st, 2016. As you can imagine, cell phones are not only valuable tools in times of emergency, but they also enhance the operational effectiveness and efficiency of city staff while away from the office and for other means of telecommunication. Employees to whom cell phones are assigned often need to be contacted quickly when important situations arise. City cell phones are only assigned to particular employees based on the specific needs of a department and working conditions of the employee, and only in cases when such a device is proven to provide an economic, efficient, and secure solution to the city's needs. These employees maintain constant access to their phones, both on and off hours, so that they can communicate effectively via text and email and utilize applications to perform their job functions. A $22,000 cut in this line item will negatively impact the police, fire, planning, conservation, public works, highway division, inspection, forestry, recreation, animal control, mayor, budget, and administration, and MIS departments. And despite being an invaluable tool in today's world, I am aware of no law or regulation that could mandate an employee to provide his or her own cell phone as a condition of city employment, or that would require an employee to use his or her own private cell phone for city business. In fact, members of the police department could not even use their own private plans due to the nature of their work. And even if a city employee could be required to use his or her private cell phone to conduct city business, the city would then be obligated to reimburse that employee for such use at a rate that far exceeds the governmental rate that the city now receives. This reduction, if allowed to stand, will take away a vital communication tool that many departments use to do their job and will undoubtedly lead to productivity loss, communication breakdown, and a major step backwards in using technology to do our city jobs efficiently. The $27,000 originally recommended to me for this account was to cover the annual expense for 68 cell phones/devices, which averages out to approximately $33.09 per month per device. Lastly, the $50,483.22 reduction in the professional services account will virtually eliminate the city's ability to adequately defend itself against an attempt to build an asphalt plant off Tiffany and County Street, which affects countless constituents throughout the city. Moreover, this reduction will also affect the city solicitor's ability to deal with bankruptcies and other complex litigation that requires additional assistance in defending the city. Please find a copy of a memorandum from the city solicitor outlining the needs for these funds. During your June 23, 2016 deliberations on these and other reductions, one message became clear. You wanted me to provide you with more detailed explanation as to why these funds were vital to the effective operation of the city. It is my hope and expectation that this communication has accomplished that objective. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to approve the following supplemental appropriations as follows. $1,500 to account citywide overtime, $22,000 to account citywide cell pager, $50,483.22 to account citywide professional services.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kevin J. Dumas.
Thank you. And the other communication?
Yes, there are. I have four, actually, Mr. President. The first one is we had a letter dated June 30th, 2016, containing a check in the amount of $1,000 from Denise Preston, 121 West Street, Attleboro, Mass., to be used as a gift to the city of Attleboro, to be directed toward providing funding to the salary within the mayor's department in order to reinstate the Constituent Services Administrator position. Mrs. President has asked that her gift be returned to her if the Constituent Services position is not reinstated.
Excuse me, Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
We also received a letter dated July 19th, 2016, from Irene Kozdraowski of 30 Carlton Street, Attleboro, South Attleboro, Mass., referring to the Municipal Council to fund the Constituent Services position held by Scott Folin.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, and a copy to all members.
We received a letter from Joseph P. Harney, 68 Beagle Club Road, Attleboro, and who's asking the Municipal Council to reinstate Scott Folin's Constituent Services position.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, and again, a copy to all members.
And we've also received a renewal application from Sangria's Restaurant, 59 Park Street, Attleboro, Mass., to waive section 11-15.1 in order to serve alcoholic beverages or wine on city property from August to August, Monday through Sunday, during the hours of 12 noon to 1 a.m.
License Committee, please. And Vice President Denley, this matter requires a public hearing. Would you like to call for a public hearing on Tuesday, August 16th?
I have a question.
Okay.
So it appears from the application they want to start serving the beverages on August 1st. I do not
I haven't seen the
believe
application.
it's from August to August.
Okay.
It's attached. It's the last 3 pages of the backup material. So I know we don't have time to advertise to have it 2 days from now.
Sure.
But we've had a problem in licenses and doing car licenses and other licenses of, how shall I go forward with this if we have the public hearing on the 16th and we voted out on the 18th, that only gives them 12 days. Is that just,
What I'm wondering is, when I look at, now that I look at this, it says from August to August, and there are no dates specified. Is he talking August 1st of 16 to August 1st of 17?
Mr. Withers has
Mr. Withers?
Actually, Mr. Owens, myself, Sharon Rivard, Elizabeth Clement, and Diane Bosch spent probably half an hour in the clerk's office today talking about this. And there's many reasons why we're talking about it. Nothing bad against sangrias at all.
Right.
But we were talking about that was one of the particular things that we were talking about. And I believe, Jeremy, and I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure that their existing license goes through the end it goes to August 31st, the one that they have in effect now. So that was one of the things.
then they wouldn't need a new one.
Yes, they would.
Because then it was.
It would,
It looks like they're going August to August.
Yeah, August 2.
What I'm gonna suggest is this, is that we call for the public hearing,
Okay.
and that,
I'll
doing
get
your usual due
clarification
diligence, if you
between
get clarification, that we look at the formal license, and then maybe talk to them. But it sounds to me like we're going from year to year.
Okay. Okay.
That would be my understanding.
Then yes, I would like to call for a public hearing on August 16th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. That hearing will be on the 16th. Okay. That's it for the other communications, correct?
yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Next time. Since there's nobody sitting here except for Mr. Rhodes, unless Mr. Rhodes has something he wants to say, I'm not even going to bother to do a vote this evening about going to committee of the whole, plus we're operating under suspended rules. Anybody? Is that all right with everybody? Okay? There's no old business, there's no new business coming before us, and I know that there were committee meetings that were posted for this evening, but there's only one potential item, and the chair of that committee is not here, so I'm figuring we're not gonna recess for committee meetings tonight, unless anybody's planning to do that.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes.
President, I was just gonna bring out, from the public hearing this evening, so
Yeah.
I was gonna bring it out of committee tonight. Oh, no?
No, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Why?
What, by bringing it up for us to vote on?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we'd have a committee meeting. I'm posted to have one.
Okay, so if there's anybody else, I only thought there was one. We're not gonna vote it tonight, you're gonna vote it on Tuesday?
Right, correct.
Okay, because we're gonna have, that was the other thing I was going to add. We are gonna be doing the committee meetings on Thursday night also. We've already have posted them for Thursday night.
No, I
Right.
won't be here Thursday,
Okay.
so
All right.
I'll have Jules do it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
if you don't mind doing it that way. Because what I was going to say, what I was thinking, what I wanted to say about Thursday night was this. There is a possibility that there might be a presentation. I'm waiting to get confirmation on that, which we often have at the second meeting in July. If we have a presentation, it would be at 7 o'clock, right? At this point, my thought is on Tuesday night, we will just open with committee meetings, right? And then we'll start the meeting to actually do anything else we have to do. And at this point, I don't think there's gonna be, communication or whatever, so it'll be like the meeting on June 20th, very similar, where we had committee meetings, and then we convened, and we had we did the committee, we had the committee reports part. So, I don't know if anybody wanted to have a committee meeting tonight, it's only a little bit after 9 o'clock, or if you want to just wait until, Thursday night, do the committees, and then do the committee reports at that point. So, that's basically the format, so if that's agreeable, I mean, if you want to have your meeting, I don't have a problem with that.
All right, I'm gonna have my meeting.
You wanna have your meeting tonight?
Because it was just public hearing, nobody had any questions, so I'm just gonna read about the committee, just
Okay,
because
so
it's my job.
I'm just gonna call for a recess for the purpose of committee meetings.
Okay, thank
Is there a
you.
second?
Second.
Thank you, the motion's in order, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. We're in recess at 9:09 for a committee report.
And I am gonna do it from my chair, Mr. President, if you don't mind, you don't even have to get up. Thank you very much. I'd like to call the Committee on Public Works to order at 9:09. It's a beautiful July evening, and I have one matter to discuss with my committee members. We had a public hearing this evening with regards to moving a pole up on Commerce Way, and there was a gentleman here to speak, as we all know. There were no questions, nobody spoke against it, so I'm just gonna bring it out of committee this evening, and if you wouldn't mind, Council Hall on Thursday evening, taking it up for a vote. Thank you very much. So from the docket of July 19th, 2016, a petition from Massachusetts Electric Company for National Grid to extend 5 Joe poles beyond existing P12 in a westerly direction on Commerce Way. Also included is a new guy anchor support pole across from existing P12 Commerce Way. It also adopts the 4-2 duct conduit banks that were installed during road construction and are specified on the original approved road plans. These facilities will be utilized to supply the New England Sports Village.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments?
Actually, it has to be
I can't do it, sorry.
Council Hall, or I can second
You
it.
can't.
Want a second?
I'll second it. And I didn't even pick up on
Thank
that,
you.
so thank you. Thank you, thank you. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I have no further business. I will call the Committee on Public Works to end at 9:11. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
So I'm gonna call the council back to order at 9:11, and the only thing left to say is, I'll see you on Thursday night, and motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, motion to order, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed, we're adjourned at 9:11.